Hi, I'm Stephanie Makalinski, and I'm on a team for Teaching with Technology class at Lamar University. It is week 5 of our class, and we are asked to provide rationale as to why our team selected each type of activity that we created for our UDL lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and go over that. So we have a few different activities. The first one is, well, just in general, our unit is about properties of matter for a 5th grade science class. And the scenario that we were presented with is to help a student, to help a teacher as a technology administrator to be a resource and help plan for a teacher to work with students with very diverse needs and strengths. So several of the students have special needs. We have one with a visual handicap, one with a hearing impairment, as well as 10 gifted students. And then, of course, your usual average to struggling learners in the class. So our activities that we are using does integrate technology. The very first one is simply just breaking the students up into pairs and in the anticipatory set describing the properties of a glass of Sprite. So just, a physical demonstration of a realistic, a very real life common event. And so that's just for using the brain network of recognition, just to kind of help everyone regroup and pair up. So that's just the first activity, and they'll use a Venn diagram to classify which state of matter a glass of Sprite is. The second activity is, as a whole class, they'll take turns moving objects to label solid, liquid, gas using a smartboard. So now we're going to kind of all come together and they get to show what they know as a whole class and take turns using the smartboard to move objects into the classifications of solid, liquid, and gas. So this is using the recognition network because they are just labeling, as well as the affective network with the technology component and the motivation. The third activity is a guided practice with discussion of how things are classified. So now we're going to talk about it. And this is more the strategic network. How exactly did you know that it was a gas? Could it also be a liquid or a solid? So for example, the glass of Sprite, yeah, there's a liquid inside, but the container that's holding the liquid is a solid, and just above the open glass is a gas, so, with the air molecules. So talking about how you know things. So that's using more the strategic network. The independent practice of, they're going to take pictures of various objects to classify them. So now each student will be given a camera, or they can bring in their own phone or picture device. There are also the technology administrator, which would be ourselves, would make sure that the teacher has the appropriate equipment and can check that out from the resource room. So each student will be able to take pictures of objects and start classifying them and save them on the computer, on their own Google Drive, and the technology administrator would be training the teacher on how to create student folders and things like that, as well as how to upload different upload with multiple devices. So that's using the recognition network, the strategic network, and also I would say the affective network too, because it is very motivating. They're getting to choose which pictures to take, as well as, yeah. So then the independent homework is going to be, they're going to blog their findings. So the technology assistant or the technology administrator will help the teacher make sure that there's a blog set up and show her the basics of how to manage that blog and model that first. So the students will blog at home uh, what kinds of pictures they took, and so on. And there'll be a rubric. And as far as the special education students and the gifted students, we will have different rubrics. Um, we would have different rubrics to diversify what the students need, to make sure that the expectations are clear for each student up front. So really, the separate rubrics will come into play starting at the independent practice. So the first three activities are kind of just group activities. But so once we start taking the pictures, the students will have their own diverse rubric specific to their needs and expectations, whether it's the gifted student or the visually impaired student, or so on and so on. And in the blogging as well, there'll be a specific rubric that outlines expectations according to a student's IEP or strengths and needs. Um, the last activity is the student presentation of the photos using a PowerPoint or a photo sharing tool. And this uses the affective, strategic, and recognition network. Um, so the rationale for this, of course, is the students get to present what they know. Um, the visually impaired student and the hearing impaired student will also have the special education teacher and their arted technology equipment. So for example, the visually impaired student would have the Dragon Naturally Speaking software that helps him find images, um, as well as the proper magnifying tools to make sure that he knows which images he's choosing. Um, and also a buddy peer might also be assigned for that. And again, the rubric would outline the expectation for each. So our team feels that these 6 activities have rationale that integrates technology, all 3 of the UDL brain networks, as well as meeting the diverse needs of this group of students in our scenario.